There is a higher law than the law of government. That's the law of conscience. Our grandfathers had to run, run, run. My generation's out of breath. We ain't running no more. In struggle, one not only fights against something, injustice, oppression, but one must struggle for something equally real but positive. That's the other part of the equation. When a black family moves into a home in a white neighborhood and is stoned, burned, or routed out, they are victims of an overt act of individual racism, which many people will condemn, at least in words. But it is institutional racism that keeps black people locked in dilapidated slum tenements, subject to the daily prey of exploitative slumlords, merchants, loan sharks, and discriminatory real estate agents. If a white man wants to lynch me, that's his problem. If he's got the power to lynch me, that's my problem. Racism is not a question of attitude, it's a question of power. Racism gets its power from capitalism. Thus, if you're anti-racist, whether you know it or not, you must be anti-capitalist. The power for racism, the power for sexism, comes from capitalism, not an attitude. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. The United States has none. This country is a nation of thieves. It stole everything it has, beginning with black people. The U.S. cannot justify its existence as the policeman of the world any longer. Racism is both overt and covert. It takes two closely related forms, individual whites acting against individual blacks, and acts by the total white community against the black community. We call these individual racism and institutional racism. I knew that I could vote, and that wasn't a privilege, it was my right. Every time I tried, I was shot, killed, or jailed, beaten, or economically deprived. I'm convinced that the deck is so stacked that only a certain number can get through. I happen to be one of that certain number. That's all. Integration as a goal today speaks to the problem of blackness, not only in an unrealistic way, but also in a despicable way. It is based on complete acceptance of the fact that in order to have a decent house or education, black people must move into a white neighborhood or send their children to a white school. This reinforces, among both black and white, the idea that white is automatically superior and black is by definition inferior. For this reason, integration is a subterfuge for the maintenance of white supremacy. The job of the conscious is to make the unconscious conscious. I do not want to be a part of the American pie. The American pie means raping South Africa, beating Vietnam, beating South America, raping the Philippines, raping every country you've been in. I don't want any of your blood money. I don't want to be part of that system. Reorientation means an emphasis on the dignity of man, not on the sanctity of property. It means the creation of a society where human misery and poverty are repugnant to that society, not an indication of laziness or lack of initiative. The creation of new values means the establishment of a society based on free people, not free enterprise.